And you could just keep dividing. To your point of the narrow and deep, just the deeper you go, the more you understand the mechanics and can fix it and make it just rock solid.
Insurance dudes are on a mission to escape being handcuffed by our agencies.
How? By uncovering the secrets to creating a predictable, consistent, and profitable agency sales machine.
I am Craig Pretzinger.
I am Jason Feldman.
We are agents.
We are insurance dudes. Right now, while it's fresh in your mind, check out live.teledudes.com.
We took our notes from over 100 interviews with top agents from around the country and made it into a live webcast.
Using these strategies led Craig and I to selling more than $10 million in premium in the last 2 years.
On this call, you'll receive the exact blueprint to get the same results.
Just go to live.teledudes.com to register for this upcoming Tuesday's live call with us.
If you jump on this call with us, we're certain 2022 will be an absolutely fantastic year for you.
See you there.
Well, hello, Mr. Jason.
Well, hello there, Mr. Craig. Playbook.
And everything's working perfectly smoothly.
As always.
As always. Audio sounds good. Check.
So we batch our episodes, and this is the first time we've recorded in a little while. Why don't you just share a quick second about the trip that you went on?
I went to Peru, and it was fantastic.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it was good. Went down there, did some work with a guy that started a school, so helped with some stuff there, and it was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that's what you can do when you set up the agency.
It is. It is. And I think that, we may have tiptoed around the subject or even touched on it a little bit, but I think that it's really important. Tipping on it. What's interesting, and I was thinking about this on the way back, is how important it is, in addition to being consistent, right? Coming up with a marketing strategy, then sticking with it, but really, really diving in and going narrow and deep on that marketing strategy. Now, narrow and deep usually is a term that becomes attached with your demographic or, who your client avatar is, like who you're going after, go narrow and deep. And that's great. But I was thinking of it along the lines of going narrow and deep also on what you're tracking, what you're measuring, on all the numbers related to that marketing strategy. Are you following so far?
I am following.
Okay.
I'm picking up what you're laying down, my man.
Oh, nice. I'm actually putting it down. I'm not laying it down.
Well, putting it down.
And this, I think, helps with that mental or emotional component of the marketing strategy, because oftentimes what will happen is, and I know from my own experience, I used to do this a lot, try something and it's not getting results, and then blaming the thing or the strategy itself, instead of really diving into the metrics behind it and trying to solve, right? Typically, I think that we're looking for something that's going to work, and then we latch onto it. We get super excited about it. We start doing it, and then it doesn't pan out as quickly as possible. And we go, wow, this doesn't work, right? And then eject, go do something else. But what I would suggest, and I think what has really helped create that situation where I could go to Peru for a month or go, do these things where you're not necessarily in the office, is putting into place that marketing strategy and then getting really, really good about what the benchmarks are, what the metrics we're looking for, so that we can then be successful with it.
100%. Yeah. And I think that's a good exercise to use with every part of the business.
Right. Is
really just going deep and narrow on what everybody's role is, what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
I think we can.
I mean, we just did that today on our Teledudes meeting, right? Like defining everybody's roles down to the minute almost, where it's everybody is very clear on what the expectations are, narrow and deep, right? Like each person knows exactly what they need to do in the agency. Every single person knows exactly what they need to do. Then there's no, the more gray area there is, and especially if we're dealing with salespeople, it's going to get charcoal gray all of a sudden, right? So if the light is shining on everybody's role and everybody knows what they need to do, then it's really hard to hide from the light.
Yes, 100%. It's funny. I was talking to Brandon when you were gone, and Brandon is managing part of the Teledudes right now. And we were talking about that and setting up these systems. It's funny. It's like mentally, it's hard to set all this up. Mentally, for some reason, when you're defining roles and you're coming up with very specific numbers and daily activities and coming up with a scorecard to track all this and to figure out if you're on pace for your goals and stuff. It's funny how it seems like, oh my gosh, this is like so much. It's like tough to do mentally because it's really not that tough to do, but it's tough to do mentally. But then when you do it, two results happen. One, it makes it incredibly easy on the manager because you're just managing. You're not managing people, you're managing a process at that point. So it's either is or not completed, right? It's just that simple. It's super black and white. So it makes it really easy on the manager, but it's funny how empathetic and easy it makes it on the other person. You think like stretching their expectations and everything would almost be like pushing them, or it seems like, oh man, this is a lot of work for them to do. But I think it's really empathetic because when somebody comes into work, if you don't know what to do, like you really want to do well. I think most people that come into work really want to do well. They don't want to do poorly, right? But so if you have a clear expectation for the day, they sit down, they can do it. It's laid out. It's like, just follow that. Like, these are the things that you should do, and this will get you the result that you want to get.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's totally empathetic to their situation, because most of the time we leave things vague and they can't complete the task. They can't complete the overall vision because we haven't been able to verbalize it very well, or they don't know. So they just come in and like,
well, it's like setting up the rules to the game, right? Like we're business owners, we're entrepreneurs. We want to be playing the game, right? So it's so difficult to sit on the sideline for a second and create the rules. But every business is different. Every agency is different. There's so many different ways to skin the cat that even with this type of thing, a lot of us, and myself included, will say, "Oh, do you have the thing to do whatever?" Right? Do you have the process for that? And it's like, then again, we're looking for the easy way out, right? Like I'm looking for somebody else that did it so that I don't have to do that part. But I don't think that there's anything more valuable to the organization than to actually create the rules that are 100% personalized to that agency, right? Or that business. And so maybe it's good to grab somebody else's game plan or playbook and utilize that, but you certainly need to put in some time and effort, especially with your team, to put those things into place, right? And then understand them and then set the benchmarks. And you may not know what the benchmarks are right away, but put something. Like we did some things today, we weren't 100%. If this is it this? Is it that? Well, okay, let's take a stab at it. We'll see what result happens as a result of it. And then we'll be able to change, right? If say X number of dials need to happen to get to this result and it isn't spot on, well, we can always move that around. But we got to have something. We got to have some rules down.
Yep. 1000%.
And that's, I think, where like we do this, we do the telefunnel strategy. Well, if you're going to do the telefunnel strategy, you got to know those numbers and you have to stick to them and you have to really, really dive deep on them. It took, I don't know, how long would you say it took you to really understand the analytics and metrics behind your whole operation there?
I mean, yeah, I think it's infinite.
Yeah.
I think there's a basic way to look at, there's the most important numbers, right? And then there's, subcategories of those numbers. And you could just keep dividing to your point of the narrow and deep. Just the deeper you go, the more you understand the mechanics and can fix it and make it just rock solid.
Right. I remember coming in, I have telemarketers, I buy leads, and all I'm looking at is how many transfers we get, right? Yeah. Oh, we didn't get enough transfers. This isn't working. And that's not even close to the full story, right? It's okay. If I know that I have X number of transfers, so what's happening here, right? How many people hung up mid-transfer? How many are failed transfers? And then to your point, where you can even dive deeper, then, how many failed transfers ended up where it was called a failed transfer because the producer may have dropped the ball on their opening line, right? Their pickup line, or what happened. So I think that like now I'm looking at both sides of the equation. On the transfer, I'm looking at the failed transfer. We could look at all of the telemarketers. If I have 8 of them or 10 of them or whatever, I could look at how many of them, or what's the failed transfer rate for all of them, and then say, look at Jody over here. She's a totally different number than the rest of the pack, right? For some reason, she has more failed transfers. So then I can also look on the other side of the equation, look at all the producers who here has a higher number. And that's where you could go, I can optimize over here. I can optimize over here. And as we optimize all of those little components of the overall machine, everything optimizes.
1,000%.
I was just wanted to get 1,000.
You got 1,000.
Yes.
And that's about it.
Yeah. So something to really dive into is whatever you're doing, really figure out all of the different metrics and then start digging into the why behind the variations. We just got to look for those variations.
The why behind the why. And that's a playbook.
Hey, what are you still doing here?
Well, while you're still here and while it's fresh in your mind, check out live.teledudes.com.
Yeah, if you weren't listening before, we took notes from over 100 interviews with top agents from around the country and made it into a live webcast.
Using these strategies did help Craig and I write over $10 million in premium in the last couple years.
And let me tell you, on this call, you'll receive the exact blueprint to get the very same results.
Again, that's live.teledudes.com to register for this upcoming Tuesday's live call with us.
And if you jump on with us, we are certain 2022 will be an absolutely fantastic year for you.
See you there.